up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another exciting edition of the True Earth Debates. Let me get that closed before I get a copyright strike. Awesome. Welcome. I don't even know what episode this is. We've been doing this over a year now. Probably should have kept track. Oh, well, number is not quite as important as the conversations, the people we run into. We are in search of intelligent life. Once again, here on TikTok, in just a few, the suspension will be lifted here at 11:11 Eastern Standard Time. Would you look at that? What a crazy little coinkydink there. For those of you who know, you know. Let's go ahead and do a quick shout out for the people, for the legends that have decided to join us today. We got, of course, Jeremy Bird, my man. What is up? Plain reality. Larry Silverstein's insurance policy someday. Definitely got to cash in on that. Admiral Dickie Bird, MrTribune, Stego Bro, Ruhif, what is up? Justin Johnson, Flat Power indeed. QTA, what is up, my friend? Warning Sky Dome. Zuwon, probably butchered that. My bad if I did. Plain Reality, Bill Wheel, what is up? My notification said an hour. Yeah, I just had to update it. I was running a little bit behind. My phone was actually dead. Forgot to charge it. So what are you going to do, right? It's what I need to do the TikToks. And I also didn't realize that I was still suspended. I just pulled it up before starting the show here and realized that it was still suspended. So this whole 11:11 thing, pretty off guard. Anyway, we got AG. What is up? Anson Howard. Roger Kelly. Paku McCluver. No longer on the ball. Sadaloon lies matter. It absolutely does. How many billions of dollars a day do we spend on this fantasy, right, when we could be doing something more meaningful? I don't know. Maybe ending world hunger. Just one thing to name a few. We got Tapered Bodies. We got Howard Moore. Don't know if I shout out Justin Johnson, but we'll shout it out one more time. Justin Johnson, what is up, my friend? Welcome. All right, and then, of course, we got all the legends over on Rockfin, folks. If you don't know, there's a link in the description. Go ahead and click that. Check out the Rockfin channel. It's going to be awesome. If you do decide to create a little $15 cheap little account, you support not only myself, but tons of other content creators as well. So what better bang for your buck? We got 11 legends watching over there. Awesome. Thank you for joining us. All right. We got about 5 minutes to kill. So what better time than to go ahead and shout out the Glowbuster show that we just did, because we're probably going to be referencing it quite a bit tonight. Now, a lot of my audience obviously watches that as well, so don't need to go too much into it. But basically, we discovered, as if it wasn't already painfully obvious, that the Earth is indeed flat, and another proof of that would be satellites, right? It's the thing brought up by Globers all the time. Satellites prove the globe. We have a 3D coordinate system around a globe. It's how we triangulate things. Yeah, right. Pretty laughable when you actually dig into the data. Thank you once again, Alan from Space Audits. Definitely subscribe to his channel. He's doing a lot of heavy lifting, bringing this debate to the scientific table, if you will, or at least uncovering it, right? The truth is it's already there. It's just not being discussed amongst the normies, right? So hopefully we can change that and bring the real information to light, right? Should be easy enough, just spotlight it, right? So anyway, now it was a pretty high-level technical show, so I'm not going to spend a whole bunch of time going into the nitty-gritty details of it, and quite frankly, I don't remember all the nitty-gritty details, but I can direct people to the Glowbuster show when I'm over on the TikTok for that evidence. The whole presentation done goes through the mathematics, how the relativity wasn't working, and how they used a linear equation in which we discovered that the propagation of electromagnetic waves is faster in one direction. My goodness. Flies right in the face of the Michelson-Morley, flies right in the face of relativity, leads us to believe that there is a predominant reference frame right? There is a preferred reference frame, and thus relativity completely falls apart. The Earth can now be rendered stationary once again, thanks to the obvious measurements of null results. And then to top it all off, cherry on top, the 3D coordinate system happens to be transposed from a local Cartesian systems or local data compiled into one thing to make that. So hilarious that is claimed to be a globe proof, right? Absolutely hilarious. Who do we got over in the Rockfin? Raised by gypsies, 88 mil a day. What? That's insane. $88 million a day. I could do some damage with that. And the other part of that coin, of course, is that the standard of evidence nowhere near met for 88 million a day. Could you imagine what I would need to do if you guys gave me $88 million, even once, just one time, and I said I was going to go to space? Like, what kind of evidence would you require of me to show that that indeed happened? All right. This thing, time is ticking slow. We got 1 minute to go. 1 minute to go. Nuba Aruhiv at troublingtribune.com/Discord. Am I not? I almost never check it, so I do need to get on that. But I've had a lot of stuff going on, a lot of stuff in the background, so you gotta bear with me on that. Yeah, I got my account nuked. That's true. I did make a new one. I just haven't confirmed it yet. So it is what it is. One Neo, what is up, my friend? That's a good point. Somehow staying tethered to the Earth while traveling multiple speeds. Just absolutely insanity. What are you going to do? You know, when you have just something completely incoherent on its face. And I think with that, our suspension should be lifted. Let's check it out. Oh, come on. Today is the 17th, and it is 11/11. Might have to reset my app real quick. No worries. Okay. I had to agree to the terms of service again. Maybe that was it. It was. All right, we're back. Perfect. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get this pulled up. Oh, you know what? Completely missed my thing here. Maybe MrTribune can help me out. Whoops. We are going to have to do this, actually. Folks, bear with me for just a minute or two while I locate the adapter piece that somehow got moved during the cleanup of my office. Awesome. The things you don't prepare for, right? Let's find something to put on for just a second. Super funny. Here comes the tech crew. Awesome. No need to play anything. Thank you. Got it right here. A1 content delivered right to you. No delay. All right, let's go ahead and go live. And folks, I will see you on the other side so that you don't catch a horrific overlay echo. That's what it is. Mixing up my words, man. I'm super tired. I'm running on like 6 hours of sleep in the past 48 hours. So we should be able to absolutely crush it tonight. Absolutely crush it. All right, let's get it. Of course, I don't even know why I bother picking the background there when it just takes it away immediately. Go put it back. And then we are good. Perfect. All right, folks, in just one moment, we will be kicking off the True Earth Debates TikTok versus Troubling Tribune edition. Come one, come all. Let's go ahead and refresh this page because it is not popping up just yet. Should pop right up. Always does. No, not that one. Maybe we actually have to literally search it. No big deal. No big deal. Let's see if it's telling people that we are live, because it doesn't look like it is. Nobody is joined. Absolutely perfect. We're shadow banned before we even begin. This might be an open panel, guys. We're going to see how this goes. It's literally just not telling people that I'm live. Super cool. Nope. Literally not popping up. All right. Might have to reset it. This is what happens when you play with the beast, right? They start messing with you good.
And started hate.
All right. We're going to just exit on out of this and redo it, because that is freaking terrible. That was absolutely awful. All right, let's try one more time. I'm just going to go live. Just going to get right into it. Boom. Enhance. Let me make sure I got my background. Just hopefully my connection isn't going poor. There we go. Now it's telling people I'm live. What is up? Welcome to the True Earth Debates. We've been doing some troubleshooting, but we are rocking and rolling, ready to go. Should be a good time here. Go ahead and smash the like, share the show. We're going to be diving right on in. True, ready to go. Smash the like, share the show. We're going to be diving right on in. We go ahead and get this pulled up for the YouTube and Rockfin. Folks, welcome. Come on in. Let's get it going. $5 tip from Jazzbo over on Rockfin. Appreciate it. My chips are down, but I do appreciate you. Much love, my friend. I know that it can be definitely difficult out there, but we do appreciate the love and support, and it does go a long way. So thank you, my brother. All right. Welcome to the True Earth Debate, folks. Smash the like. Nobody smashed any likes. You guys are lame. Just kidding. You don't have to be. If you just tap your screen a few 100,000 times, then we'll be in business, right? Gonna be an awesome conversation. Welcome to the True Earth Debate. Do we live on a flying, spinning space pair at 5 different vectors, whirling through space at breakneck, blink of an eye speeds, absolutely ridiculous? Or do we live in a stationary plane with topography, no movement measured, no curvature measured? What is it that we are dealing with here? Let's have the conversation. I'm your host, MrTribune, and I do subscribe to the stationary topographical plane, right? There have been tons of experiments conducted that prove that there is no physical obstruction over the horizon. It is an optical effect. We can see way too far. We can shoot radio waves way too far. We can shoot microwaves way too far. There's tons of evidences towards that. So, and obviously it's the default position, right? All the ancients believed it. We have tons of different cultures depicting a flat stationary earth, sometimes even like a god just laying down or something, and then you have a shell over top, or a firmament, if you will. Who the heck knows? We're going to go ahead and do a poll. Let us interact. Quick poll. Do a smiley face if you are questioning the mainstream narrative on where it is that you live, and do a crying face if you think you just got it all figured out because the mainstream told you. Jeff Smith, you should be very entertained. Globers and flat earthers alike are welcome. We do appreciate you. So definitely share the show. Let's get the message out here. Whether you think that this is just a dumb thing for entertainment, maybe you feel morally obligated to set us straight somehow. Maybe your comment will be the one that actually gets through, right, and to educate us, but I doubt it. We have tons of very damning evidence. So, anyway, once again, welcome. Continue to smash it. We're at 1,000. We really need to get to 10,000 ASAP so that we can get some more Globers on. 152 of you in here, though. Should be pretty easy to have you smash the guest box, right? Pretty easy to correct. what is your best evidence that we do in fact live on this spinning space ball, right? Just try to do it like, we'll do it one at a time, right? Make it very, very easy. No need to try to overwhelm me on a case of accounts, right? Just give me your best globe proof, and I will address it, and then I can give you my best flat earth proof, and we can just go back and forth from there. True earth girl, I love the flat and stationary earth. Absolutely, who doesn't? If you don't love the earth, right, then you're just not that great in my book. Just leave it at that. What proof is there that it's flat? You must have missed the first part of the show. So we have electromagnetic waves going way too far. Of course, I'm talking about not just electromagnetic, sorry. The light spectrum, all that stuff. We got radio waves, we got microwaves, we got light waves, all going way over the geometric horizon. We also have, let me go ahead and see who we got in the box. Doral Brock, welcome to the show. You are on, my friend. What have you got for us today?
Hey, how you doing, sir? So let's say you're sea level, right? And follow me, you're sea level,
Sure, go ahead.
and we're standing next to a let's say like a 20-foot, 20-story building, and the sun sets. The
Mm-hmm.
sun is setting, right?
Mm-hmm.
All
Yep.
right, it set it. Why you still can see the shadow? I mean, why is there sunlight still atop the building and not at the bottom? And you go to the top and you can see the sunset.
That's a pretty straightforward question. Appreciate you asking it, right? Doral Brock, to put it simply, the atmosphere at the base of the Earth, right, towards the surface is thicker, so there's more attenuation of light. So the light doesn't travel. Yeah, folks, give me 1 second. I'm still frozen on the YouTube, so I can't do anything about that. Just got to. It's actually frozen on a hilarious face. All the more reason to go ahead and check it out. Go subscribe if you haven't already. Going to be a awesome, awesome time when it actually gets going. I'm actually going to have to reset it, so no worries. We'll just give one of these numbers here, and we are back. It gets going. I'm actually going to have to reset it, so no worries. Okay, there we go. Whosoever, welcome to the show as well. But yeah, Doral Brock, I hope that. Oh, I didn't even get to finish it. Curvature changes from elliptic in near space to hyperbolic in far space, and at very large distances becomes parabolic. So this whole idea that we see in Euclidean geometry, that's how most people are basing their measurements on, is actually incorrect, right? There's more to the story. So I hope that addresses your question.
Hey, I also had a quick question, if you didn't mind as well. What's going on, man? So earlier today, somebody made an argument. They said that in Australia versus like wherever they say the top of the globe is, they said that if you look at the moon from both countries, they say that Australia it will show the face of the moon but upside down. Have you heard this argument before?
Yeah, that's just a different perspective of where you're looking at the moon from, right? So it's just because we're only seeing one face of the moon, but you can still see it from different sides, right? So one person's seeing it just from the opposite way. Now, the way to demonstrate this would be to literally just take a cutout of anything, right? You can take a star, like one of those glow-in-the-dark stars, or take a piece of paper, draw a triangle on it, right? Stand on one side of it and look at its orientation, and then move to the other side of the room and look back at that paper and notice how the orientation has changed.
Yeah, you know what? That's facts, and that's so silly of me to not think of because I actually did that very experiment in my room one time. I think Caleb put it on his page, and I actually seen that. So I don't know. I didn't remember that when I was discussing with someone earlier, but I appreciate it, man. That's all I really wanted to ask for now.
Yeah, thanks for the great question, whosoever. All C Transit, you've been pretty quiet. I'd like to open up the floor to you. Do you have a question or a statement? Do you want to debunk anything that I've said?
Yeah. So my question is every planet flat or is it just Earth?
What if I don't know, right? That all we're seeing is things from a telescope and everything renders to us in 2D. So we ascribe 3D properties, right? Because we just intrinsically know that everything here is three-dimensional. But, I mean, we can't go out there and touch it. I'd like to think that they are spheres up in the sky, but I also think that the spheres in the sky don't have anything to do with the shape of what we are here on the Earth, right? I don't think that the Earth is also a sphere in that sky conceptually, right? If we just like imagine that the sky is this vacuum that we're all floating in, which is not really, it's actually space-time, which is a conception that we've turned into a fabric. But if we imagine that that has physical properties, right, and then we place all these lights in the sky in it, and then we imagine that we are also, from maybe the perspective of one of those other lights in the sky, also a light in the sky, then yes, I can see how you'd come to that conclusion. But it's a huge reification fallacy.
So
So
I got another question.
basically, we only know for sure that this is flat.
Well, yeah, we can measure this, right? How can we measure? I mean, we can look up and see that there's circles, right? So I wouldn't even say that. I mean, I'd say it's probably a good guess that they're spheres. Who knows, right? What does it matter though?
Well, I mean, it was just really strange that like ours is different from like the other ones. Like, why was that?
So why would we be the same as everything else when nothing else that we see in the sky is anything like here on Earth?
But why are we specifically so different from everything else?
So I would well that's because we have the special position in the universe. I don't know why that would be, right? Maybe there's a creator. I don't know. That's a question that we can't really answer, right? But what we can do is we can take measurements, we can look at the data, and we can do scientific experiments to isolate cause and effect relationships to try to ascertain the truth about where it is that we live. And when we do that, we actually find that we experience we don't experience any motion, and that it seems that we're the center of the universe.
Would you say the sun is the sun round or flat?
It's probably round, yeah. It's round, obviously.
Then how do
Let me
we?
rephrase that. It's obviously round. Is it a sphere? Probably. I don't know.
Well, how do we experience heat in the way we do if it's rounded?
What do you mean? The sun gives off heat and we feel it. How would that change depending on the shape?
Because if we're flat, then heat should be like an equilateral thing across our plane if it's like a flat plane,
Only if
or
you
like not like a piece of paper flat, but like flat Earth.
Yeah, that's only if you, again, beg the question that the sun is 93 million miles away and therefore has to be supermassive and then would light up a whole plane without any curvature to dissipate the light. I can debunk that the curvature of the Earth is dissipating the light with the simple observation that you can observe day turn into night, and it's not the obstruction of the sun that actually causes the daylight to fade, right? There's still light. If it was actually blocked by a hard obstruction, then it would be is what would happen. The light would disappear when the sun would go away, but that's not what happens. So it's more reasonable to assume that the light is just leaving with the sun as the sun continues over its local track over the Earth.
I mean, I guess I can see where that like come into play. I just don't understand like the heat dispersal. Like we experience heat in different ways on this planet, and I feel like in the way heat works when it emits energy, it should be equilateral. No.
Well, with the way that you're describing, you're being incredibly vague, so I find it hard to address your claim specifically. Simply,
Oh, sorry.
no, I was just going to say that if you just say that, well, the heat should be equilateral, you would, for one, I'd want you to demonstrate. You have to assume that there's no I'll just say atmospheric so that we're all on the same page, but I don't believe that we have sphere-shaped air. But again, we're going to have to assume that there's no attenuation of that, wrong word, that there's no dissipation of that heat, that the relative local elements of each area, like if it's stormy in one area and not in another, if that's going to affect the way that the heat disperses. Like there's a lot of variables to take into account. My question would be, how is the way that the heat disperses, how is that in any way proof of the globe with all those variables to consider?
Well, it's not so much proof of the globe. It's more of a, I guess,
It wouldn't be proof of either.
inconsistency.
It wouldn't really be
Yeah,
proof of
it's
either,
not really.
right?
It's not so much proof of one or the other. It's an inconsistency with like how I mean, you mentioned wavelengths earlier. I mean, heat is dispersed in. It's not like a necessarily three-dimensional thing. It's like expanding in a wavelength. I mean, it's a wavelength shape, and so if you were to issue that, like if you were to use, I don't know, like I don't like saying like a piece of paper, but like if you were to put heat through a piece of paper, it doesn't necessarily like pick certain spots. It equilaterally like disperses. So if we're like on a flat plane, like regardless of the angle or anything like that, like why it doesn't really explain how like weather and this like the discrepancy in temperatures around the Earth are
Yeah, so
different.
again,
So, like it should be equal.
yeah, so here's the thing. That's kind of a huge problem with it, right? You're kind of assuming that um, that the sun like would control the weather directly, and although I will say the sun would influence the weather, it's not a direct control, right? There's actually other factors. So in areas where there's going to be more water, it's obviously going to create more humidity. Heat's not going to travel the same way that it's going to travel through, like let's say, a desert, and obviously the sun is a way that it can be seen from the desert and from the rainforest, at the same time. So obviously those are completely different climates. The heat's going to disperse differently through that, and you're just claiming that it's going to be even Stevens without any kind of demonstration of what mechanic would allow for that, would allow for the heat to just ignore the effects of the atmos. And furthermore, seek the truth, actually, that was an interesting question that I'll bring up, which was, if the heat was just lateral, wouldn't the mountaintops be hotter than the valleys? We know that intuitively to not be the case, right? It's cold up on mountaintops, right?
Well, it's not again. It's not. I mean, like that argument. If that's something else. Like I don't even really understand like how that's dispersed in that way. I'm mainly just talking about like this in terms of provable like observable nature.
Well,
You can measure like a flat surface with heat hitting it at an angle
yeah, but
and
you're
measure the
still
temperature.
so you're going to get completely different results when you're trying to do a local homogeneous area versus a less local non-homogeneous areas, right? So again, you just keep ignoring the fact that these climates are completely different. And I know that you kind of asserted
But
that that was
but
somehow proof
but then
of. Hold on, I know that you somehow asserted that that was somehow proof of like the way that the sun heat proves out or is somehow consistent on the globe, but not consistent on the flat Earth. Um, you haven't even really proven that out, right? There's a lot of variables to consider, and you're just saying, well, if you do it on a flat local table, then you're going to get this result. Well, yeah, that's a homogeneous area.
Well, the thing is, what then allows for these variations? Like, what makes these climates different in different parts
What do you
of
mean?
the?
So there's literally different material in each area. It's different with the sun and other things in the environment, right? So again, the most easiest one to identify is water, right? So the desert versus the rainforest, right? One's completely humid, one is arid and dead. The heat disperses differently, and you just assert that it does the same. Now you want to do an argument of incredulity, like I don't understand. Basically, you're saying I don't understand how it could work on the flat Earth, even though I haven't even analyzed it for the globe. And I'm going to assert that because I don't understand that somehow would be indicative of my position being correct, right? Because we can go back and forth on the circles of stuff that we can't really prove again because we're not taking direct measurements with isolating all these variables. And you haven't even shown anything for me to actually directly address and have to refute. So I would, at this point, I would like to go ahead and shift the ball into your court and ask what would be your best positive evidence that we do indeed live on the space ball, that NASA tells us.
For sure. Well, the main thing that people who argue that we live on the space ball mainly is that you have like the is in the sense that what we're talking about here with climate and the different types of biomes and everything. um, People who believe that we live on a globe explain it as a basically positional thing, like you're saying, like we live in this area in space that's so perfect, and part of that is because not only is the sun and just like everything around it hitting us in a specific way, but because we're on an axis, there's all of these a lot of these landscapes are allowed to have these varieties because of where they're positioned in 3D space. I mean, I'm not saying that there isn't some equivalent on the flat Earth, and I'm just telling you that why I explain it, and it makes like not necessarily in a global sense, but like if you were to condense that into a smaller experiment, it checks out because if we're orbiting around something that's warm like that, and we're on an axis and we're rotating, it kind of makes sense that there would be different variations
What if I were?
of landscape.
I mean, I tend to disagree with you in that the angle is going to make that much of a difference. In that, for the simple observation of that in the wintertime, right here in Florida, when it's actually still very hot,
What
at
part of Florida?
noontime, at
What part
noontime,
of Florida?
Central Florida.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Anyway, so yeah, in the wintertime, sun can be right above your head. It's really, really hot, right? But in the summertime, right, the sun can be like just above the horizon, right, at that angle, and it actually be like, sorry, this is the reverse of that. It's pretty cold at noontime in December, but yet at just like a little bit after sunrise, like 8, 9 o'clock, it's blistering hot in the summer, right? And so to simply say that, well, it's because of the angle, right? Well, we see a direct angle, right, locally all the time, and it doesn't affect our heat that much. So I get that there's a mathematical model that you have, and that we say, well, yeah, if we assume, again, if we beg the question, and we assume that we are the space ball with a set radius, and then we assume that we are tilted away from the sun, which we have to because that's the only way that the observations would make sense, right? If we are a ball, we have to be tilted, and we have to be rotating, and we have to be orbiting the sun. Otherwise, the mathematics don't make sense for the observations that we're seeing in the sky. The other way that we can see it, I misspoke. There is one way that you can do it with a geocentric. However, you can transpose that to a flat Earth cosmology as well and have everything simply above the Earth, right? So simply invoking that, well, we have a model, and therefore that means that we're right. It's actually not true. If you can falsify things in the model, then that's just that. Your model's falsified. And unfortunately, the model is falsified with radio waves that go over 10,000 miles, microwaves that go over 250 miles, which would go right through the ionosphere. Also, we have line of sight observations up to 600 miles in question, definitively 275 miles. And then we also have mirror flashes on the water of like 14, 20, 30 miles, which again completely debunks the idea that there's some hump of water or land between the observation points, right? So these are positive proofs, positive debunks of the claim that the Earth is a globe with a radius of 3,959 miles.
Well, I also saw somebody mention too that like the Earth's core type thing, right? And so
Well, before we move on, can I just get an
Oh, yeah.
acknowledgement of like, so if that were true, right?
Oh
if
yeah,
what I
bro.
just told you was
I feel
true.
you. That was good stuff. That hit it spot on the money right there.
Well, just 1
But
second.
you
Colton.
can.
well, I mean, I think specifically on the aspect of the reflections and everything, like what. So you're saying that the reflections are something that don't make sense with a rounded Earth because they reflect something that's like way farther away than what should be make sense with a rounded Earth.
Reflections or of what? I didn't believe I mentioned
I
reflections.
I
You
got
weren't listening.
definitive
You're
proof.
talking about like how light travels.
Yeah, talking about how electromagnetics travel. They
Travel in
work off
general.
line of sight. Right, they work off line of sight.
Yeah.
And one of the best examples that definitely debunks the globe is mirror flashes 30 miles over water, right?
Oh,
So
mirror
that's
flashes,
on the
mirror
surface.
flashes,
Yeah, because they have
that's
to be, mirror flashes have to be direct.
Oh wait, I
line
got
of sight.
definitive proof right now. It's obvious to you. Kind of along the lines of what you're talking about. Like, there's a clear like. Okay, so obviously our model is the sun is the one moving, and their model we're the ones moving, right? And that's where you can use that. I think that is your best place to like let's find out, are we the ones moving or is the sun the one moving? And there's the 24-hour sun in the Arctic, whatever. If the sun is 93 million miles away and you're going to equate our little spin is making the sun move in that path in a huge circle just following the horizon in a 24-hour day, absurd. And this is just simple, easy perspective geometry, whatever you want to call it, when you picture that
We're
in your
not
head.
moving. We're not moving the sun though. We revolve around the sun.
No, bro. Our model, the sun is local, and it is the one moving. Your model, your model, we are moving, and it causes this optical illusion of the sun is moving.
There's a lot of people in the
Not
comments
possible.
right now that don't understand their own model. It is true that you can invoke that the sun is moving with the solar system around the great attractor in the galaxy. However, in the reference frame, right, it would actually be correct to say that from our reference point, if we do invoke that whole Narnia model, that the sun is in fact not moving, right? And they have to do that because, again, it's the only way that they can make the observations make
Oh
sense.
no!
But
That's not that the sun isn't moving. It's that we orbit around the sun. The sun isn't necessarily just like this stationary thing.
Yeah, and I also
It's not like everything in the universe is like moving to some degree. It's just that the smaller
that's
objects
nuanced, right?
revolve around the
Hold on.
bigger object.
we're grasping at straws.
Let me interject. So, do you guys look at telescopes or bleed that instrument? Do y'all?
What about them? Yeah, you can look up at things in the sky with a lens.
Yeah. Okay. Do y'all see
Space.
galaxies, or do y'all believe in galaxies?
We can agree that maybe there's spiral things in the sky. What does that have to do with the shape of the Earth?
I think that it would be space is real, but we can't go there for some
So
reason.
okay, so we can't make it past space, right?
Yeah.
Past how far do you think we can't make? I mean, where's the ceiling?
Charlie, hold on. I want to address this. I want to address this comment real quick, Charlie, because he's like, McToon addressed all this, and you had nothing. My cat was in the hospital, possibly dying, so that was not my best debate. But in any case, McToon lied. McToon said that they checked the measurements of the curved visual space with a theodolite, and they actually did it with a hard metal bar, right? And he was trying to because I was like, you have to check it with something solid, right? And he was like, no, you can. The optical tools work just fine. They checked it with a theodolite. So that's BS. It's dishonest. He may not have meant to be dishonest, but I would guess by some of the other stuff on his website that he did. Just my personal opinion. You guys can feel it how you want. But yeah, with that being said, guys, feel free to take it away.
Well, to go back to the orbital thing, if the sun moved around us, wouldn't at one point like at least one of the planets in that orbit get fried if the sun's the one moving around and not us?
And you're invoking the whole entire model and trying to fit the flat Earth cosmology into it, right? It's not going to work. We don't believe that there's supermassive planets having to orbit a supermassive sun up in this supermassive space above the Earth.
Well, no, it's
right?
not that. It's not that we're much smaller
light.
than it, though, right?
Okay,
Like,
as far as we know, all the planets are just brighter stars that have independent travel because they
how is that?
retrograde.
How do you prove
Hold
that?
on, I gotta address
That's
this.
the mainstream science, bro.
All
They
sea
just-
transit, you need to understand that the way you're arguing is, in my opinion, very terrible. It would be the same it would be equivalent if I were to say, well, in the heliocentric model, the Earth is the third closest planet to the sun, and all the other planets that are close to the sun are all cooked and it's too hot, and the sun burns so bright. So how is it that it just happened to be in this Goldilocks zone? That's quite the coincidence. It just doesn't make sense.
The reason I have to ask
Oh, that was a good
questions like this is because what like I'm working off of is something that isn't even like based in anything I've
But you can't
ever
even-
observed in my life.
You
Like
can't-
Extremely
I can only ask questions because this is like I feel like I'm talking about like
Yeah, but
pigs
here's the
flying
thing.
or
Your
something.
questions are
It's
loaded.
like
Hold on. Your questions are loaded, right? That's the problem. You're not coming at this with an open mind. You have a presupposed cosmology that you are asserting into another cosmology.
Yeah, straw
and then
man,
you're
basically.
claiming that because you don't understand it, and you can just keep saying that you don't understand, right? Even if we explain it perfectly, you can just say, well, I don't understand it, and then you can walk away feeling like a winner. But unfortunately, the audience doesn't
well,
really
no,
see it
I'm
that
not
way.
trying. No, I'm not trying to walk away a winner. I'm trying to like even understand what this is. I'm not trying to sit here and be like, oh, well, like you're
Well,
talking
surely
about
this
flat
isn't-
Earth, LOL. Like
Well,
I
surely
know
this
better
isn't
than
your-
you, but
Surely this isn't your first time, having a
it is. Well, I mean, this is my first like. This is like my third. I just got live like a week ago, and I don't really do anything online. This is like my
welcome
third.
to the club,
The
man.
other two debates.
Sorry for
were
being so hard on you.
not.
Oh, let's recruit them to our side.
Yeah.
No, it's all good.
No, it's not a religion. It's not a religion.
It's a cult.
Yeah, no, it's
that's
just the
the
only
main
thing
point.
is like this. I don't have like I've never observed anything in my reality that represents some sort of like model that would represent that the Earth is flat in any way. Not to say that like, you know, that's isn't like I just there's nothing
Okay,
I
I
can
got something
see
to say
that would
So-
observe that. And I mean I
Hold
I
up,
guess I
hold
was
up. By
raised.
the time you were 2 years old, think of how much globe imagery they have to have. There's globe imagery everywhere, whether it's on TV, whether it's like I was just in Rapid City and there's a statue of the dude putting his hand on the globe. You know, how many globes have you seen? Even though we don't see them as much anymore, but before you could even form actual thoughts, or like I shouldn't say that. You're in like a hypnosis state when you're a little kid. You're like programming everything of how you think, and you've probably seen hundreds of thousands of globe imagery, and then you never had a chance to actually question it. So
Yeah, like I can't deny I was raised on globe ideology or globe concepts. I just there's nothing really like that has contradicted that in my existence.
I'll raise my hand for the floor.
we're like Satanists. If this was a religion, we'd be the Satanist. We'd be like,
I'm gonna-
come to the dark
I'm gonna
side.
raise my hand in my own live. All right. Here's the thing. All sea transit. What if I were to tell you that all the things that you think are globe Earth proofs are actually flat Earth proofs, and you have just been misled on the interpretation of the evidence? Have you ever considered?
No, but I also would have to see something that because what one thing I do think I have to have a hard stance on is like the dispersal of energy like the law of thermodynamics. I
But that
feel like
disperses. So the problem. Okay.
sorry,
So
continue.
all of the models that I've seen are transposed to a globe from local Cartesian or local flat like data points, right? And then curvature in like only when you start like geodetic surveying is something that's implied, right? So simply saying, well, energy dispersal means that we're on a globe, right? Can you clarify what exactly you mean by that? What exactly do you mean by energy dispersal means we have to be on a globe, or means that it can't be flat at least?
So one of the like main principles of I mean biological structure, or just in general, like how nature forms, right? Like we have the form over function type. When people say that,
Wait,
what
can I
they
ask
a
a
lot of
question?
time, where that kind of
What do you mean
originates
by
from.
thermodynamics? Like, what do you mean by that?
Just
The
how
fact
like
that heat?
energy in terms of like
You're talking about the
you know,
heat.
you push a ball and it goes forward type thing. Not I'm not trying to get like
Inertia?
super like complicated about it. Yeah, just yeah, inertia. Sure.
Because it's way easier to believe in a local sun because that's how you get the very easily messed with four seasons with a local sun because the sun is up for 13 hours during the
Well,
summer and then the sun is up
well,
for
so
about
what
10
I was
hours.
going to talk about in biology, you have the concept of form through function, like with trees, right? Like a lot of trees have, if you were to remove the leaves, have a what you can see is like how we have in our lungs, like the way air travels through our lungs. The roots, so to speak, of that have the almost the exact same shape as trees because in
Oh,
those objects, it's the easiest way
I
to
feel you.
get
But where are
oxygen
you
to
going with
flow
this?
through. Yeah, and so
Oh,
yeah, so I mean, basically with like a core or just if we could just talk about again like pushing a ball. The reason like things go up and down, or in this case, I saw somebody in the comments earlier talk about the Earth's core. Like it would be very strange, like if you had the exact same model but on a flat Earth, energy wouldn't be like it would be much easier for something physically to
That,
disperse energy
yeah, but there's
in a way that was
what?
like a core
you're
circle and
Do you
assuming
going
know
that
what
outwards.
you're
centrifugal
assuming there's a
force
flat
is?
Earth model. There's no flat Earth mathematical model. It's just a collection of words and bad videos, right? I mean,
So disingenuous,
Yeah,
Jordan.
this
well, I
guy
mean, so
is,
my
You
bad.
know
There's
there's
some
such.
memes.
You
this
There's some
guy is
know.
pretty
memes
much
in there,
lying.
dude.
Hold
There's some
on,
memes.
hold on,
I'm
hold
just
on.
giving
Wait
you
a
a hard
second.
time, Tribute.
This guy's
Let's
talked
let
to enough flat earthers that he's
let's
lying.
Listen,
let
Colton. Look, Tribune. So we're
before. Hold
going
on.
around
Wait,
the
wait,
sun. We can measure the parallax. We can
wait. I'm
measure the
not gonna
I
let
don't give
that
a
parallax.
comment
shit about
slide.
measurement. I got
George,
simple
hold on.
See, there,
Everybody's trying
holes.
to talk over the
Tribune.
host of the show. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I say things really quick, and then I let you guys talk and talk and talk because you help me fill my time. I love you guys. Just let me say my piece real quick. Um, I can't let the comment slide where you're like there are no flat Earth there are no flat Earth data points. There's no flat Earth measurements or anything like that. You know that's ridiculous. You even admitted yourself that you have done the flat wave mechanics, right? So that in itself is a perfect example of that. We also have plane sailing. We have plane surveying. Just to name a few more examples. Okay,
Yeah. So there's that, and just like inertia, which you guys believe in too. So we go around the sun. We can measure the parallax to stars uh, that is due to our motion around the
Shown
sun.
to
So
be
that
not
is measured.
accurate.
So you don't believe in data, so I'm talking to him because I think he believes in
Bro,
data.
the
You
North
just believe in
Star
memes.
is in the exact same place that it was in thousands of years ago.
No, you can
I
look
like
up Barnard
memes.
Star.
Memes are
Look
funny,
up Barnard
but
Star.
it's to
So
be just because of the sheer stupidity of, not stupidity, I shouldn't say stupidity. I should say, I don't know. What would you call it? Cognitive dissonance. I love that word.
it's you
It's a
can
bitch.
you can say anything, dude. Whatever you want to call me, it doesn't matter. We have so there's data, and it's not
No,
about feelings. Like
hello.
trivia notes, we've talked a lot. I mean,
There's no data.
this
I
is
have
not a
simple
belief
stuff.
system, and this is not about
Undeniable
feelings.
stuff.
Like science, the scientific method exists to to allow humans not to mess it all up.
Overcomplicate and complex,
All right.
come up with
No,
fake
So,
math.
all right.
Do,
So
do you
George is
believe?
actually pretty good at not interrupting Colton. I'm going to ask that you please try not to interrupt so much. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll ask you, Tribune. I mean, do you think the scientific method is okay? Do you think it's a good way to get to the truth of something?
In general, yeah, but it does make some assumptions in itself that could prove out to be wrong in time.
What assumptions are those? I mean, it doesn't
Actually,
make
no,
assumptions.
you're actually right. No, it doesn't. I'm talking about the constants.
Okay.
Yeah, that's something different. Yeah. So I think that's a good way of ascertaining cause and
And I
effect
think you believe in
relationships.
it. I mean, in a lot of the community, that's the flat Earth community, because you guys want to go out and do experiments and you want to
It's
verify
not a
things.
community. This is not a religious movement.
Okay, so social group,
It's
whatever it
just
is. So some of you
observation
do believe.
of it doesn't work. It
All right.
doesn't work. I don't care what your mathematical data that you can't show. What's your mathematical data?
So I don't know what that
That
question
shows-
means.
Wait, I have a question for Colton.
Oh, go
if I
ahead,
may.
go ahead, because I don't know what he just.
Yeah. So, like,
This is
if
what's
we were to sum up, like,
okay.
I was just gonna say, like, if we sum up like both of our collective knowledge about science and the world and everything that we've observed up to this point in our lives, would it be fair to say that like most of nature, especially when we could talk about evolution specifically, or whatever you want to talk about, follows the path of least resistance? Does what makes the most sense in terms of growing and thriving in the easiest way
Probability?
possible?
Why is that though?
So
Why is
probability
that?
wise, it is extremely unprobable that the globe model is compared
No. I'm not. I'm
Or
so,
what?
No.
okay.
Why-
Well, I mean, I
why-
guess
You
you're
don't even
jumping.
believe in
Resistance?
math enough to make a
What are
statement
you
like
saying?
that, Colton.
I guess. I mean, I guess
Oh,
you're kind of
dude.
jumping to the point. Why would it be easy?
What does
or
math
like,
have to do with this? Besides a little bit of geometry.
You just said
What-
probability.
What makes the like if we were
Yeah,
to
the
follow? I mean,
probability
do you
of the
think
globe
the
model
flat Earth
is-
has like a core in the same way that like the globe
We got
model?
to
does?
stay on topic. You guys are all over the place.
It's hard. I was trying to jump in.
Okay. I guess my main thing I'm saying is like, why would it be easier
Are you talking to yourselves? I mean,
for
come on.
energy dispersal to work on a flat plane rather than a globe? Like that's why
Do you know what centrifugal
the core
force
functions
is?
the way it would. What?
Do you know what centrifugal force is? Why
Yes,
is that
but
not
what?
applied? Oh yeah, gravity's magic.
Oh, yeah,
No,
can I
we're
ask
talking
a
about the
question
Earth's
gravity?
core.
That'd be okay. Yeah, thank you for having me on, Mr. Tribune. Appreciate it.
Can
Everybody.
we address a point? That'd be sick.
Yeah,
Like
here, I have
a
a question.
concrete point.
So, do you guys
Yeah.
don't believe in gravity?
Gravity relative to the individual thing's mass. Like everything carries its own mass.
So it's like, from my understanding, it's like electrostatics that like bring us down to the ground.
That's
Like,
our best explanation so far. Yeah.
okay. Well, like I think I've heard this before, but like I always wonder what's like you guys' answer to like if you were to step on a scale, obviously, right? Like that's kind of like gonna spit out a number of what like is holding us down. It's gonna spit out a number, tell us what we weigh. So like
Yeah, relative to the mass of the object. The
yeah,
mass
so like
that it
let's say you
carries.
stand on a
Yeah,
scale.
you have terminal velocity as a thing
Oh, yeah.
based off
I
of
think
like,
we
One second,
understand
one second.
density.
I'm
Yeah.
setting it
Gravity.
up, so hold on, it'll make sense.
how could gravity give us
Hold up.
individual mass?
Hold on one second. So like, but
If
if
things
you
have terminal velocity.
all right, 1 second. But like, if you were to like charge an object, if you were to weigh something and then like get a number and then charge that object, would you? And you still get the same number? Like we don't see that. We'll get like if we weigh a toaster.
So electro.
Like, plug
I'm
it in,
glad you brought
like,
that
would
up
see-
because
you should
electromagnet.
see- 1 second. You should see a different number. If you have a very accurate scale, like that number should then be changed because it's not always pressing down; it's going up too. But like, you know, like that's one question I have. Is like, what? How do you explain that?
Electromagnetic levitation would disprove that theory you just said.
What's that?
Okay. And again, you know, the host said some really intelligent stuff about debating and about, you know, all you guys do is straw man essentially. And you think, oh, if there's holes because we haven't developed the science yet of what it is for clear reasons, you think that if you can find holes and that we don't really understand
breaks
gravity,
down the whole
you know,
theory.
your
I'm
explanation
just
for
asking, like,
gravity
literally
is
how
fucking
scales
absurd.
work. I'm literally just
The thing is that
asking how
your
scales work.
definition of
No,
like how
no,
gravity
I'm just
works
saying, like,
makes it
if
seem
we're
like
going
it
to be
would-
sensible
that
people,
makes things
if
more
we're going to be sensible,
like
Just talk about all the holes in the globe. Let's talk about all the
Yeah.
holes in the globe model.
No, I'm just
Because
asking.
All
there's
right, we got to reel it
infinite
in.
amount of
So
holes.
everybody's talking
Yes.
over each other. I think I'm gonna have to cut a few guests just to make sure that we can all get our piece in. So at this time, the first two, All Sea Transit, and actually, let's do roll call. I know All Sea Transit's a Glober. Colton, you're a flat earther. George, you're a Glober. Retro, you're a Glober, and Jay, you're a flat earther. Okay, so I got to get rid of one of each. I think so. All right.
Yeah, I'll get off.
No, hold on. Colton. Yeah,
Okay.
I appreciate you. You're just one of the first ones on the chopping block.
Thanks.
Make your final piece though. You can make one last little point, and then hop on off. All Sea Transit as well. If you could follow behind, and then we can keep the panel nice and tight. And then if people jump off and we're still doing this, feel free to hop back in rotations. No big deal.
Okay, I'll just stick to what I said earlier about if we're going to compare these two models, they both have holes in them, but the biggest question is, or the biggest differential between the two is local sun with local heat or
Oh,
Suspense.
Cliffhanger.
Dude,
I
I,
was gonna
I
say
actually
the
can
same.
Ooh,
I can respect that exit. That was
I
pretty
like
rad.
that. That's pretty badass right there.
Yeah, dude, Colton, that nice.
Badass sexy.
Thank you.
That's some
His phone
low-key
died.
passive
Dude, you
aggressive
might have to
thing.
boot him. I think his phone died right there, dude.
Oh,
That was-
nice.
Dramatic.
That
Dude,
was
he was trying to fight till the end. All right, let me. I'm just gonna go ahead and get rid of him so that he can get on with his life. But we appreciate you, Colton. Thanks for coming on. Oh wait, he's gone. Okay, cool. I didn't have to do anything. All Sea Transit, you're next as well. If you would like to address a point or make your final point, and then get to stepping. No.
Sure. No, of course. Yeah, thank you for having me on. I guess my final thing is I just think it's a lot less of a headache if you think the Earth is a globe. I feel like when you walk outside and try to make sense of stuff, it's just a lot easier. But
Man, if only
That's
you
just
knew
me.
how much they had to invoke on your stuff. Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
no, you're good. That was my piece. Yeah, you all have a good one.
You as well. All Sea Transit, thank you for coming on. Welcome back anytime. All right. And then we got, nice. Now it was down to just the four of us. Okay. So, where are you at? All Sea Transit, sayonara. There we go. All right. So, All Sea Transit seems to believe that everything just makes a lot more sense if you just invoke spherical geometry when we have curved visual space that's not taken into account in that. And then we also assume that we are moving even though we measure that we are not. We invoke relativity even though there is, in fact, a preferred reference frame. Jorge, you're going to like this point, right? So we just did a presentation on Globebusters yesterday, right? And it was done by Alan from Space Audit, so you guys might want to check him out. Subscribe to him over on YouTube. He's not here on TikTok yet, I don't think. But he does some really good breakdown videos of like the physics and things that often we don't get told about because, we're spoon-fed one end of science. So essentially he goes through and we show that the satellites, right, one of the number one hailed proofs of the globe, because it is on a 3D, and Jorge, I believe it was either you or somebody else brought this up, that we know the satellites are proof of the globe because they're on a 3D coordinate system that's over a globe. Well, would you be surprised to find out that that's actually transposed from local Cartesian coordinate systems? So it's actually that then get transposed to 3D globe space. So really, really funny there. And on top of that,
It is a little funny.
on top of that, the equations for because this was another thing that I was hit with is, well, we have to take into account the time dilation predicted by relativity in order to get the correct signals or the correct whatever the heck it was called for the satellites with the way they're
The timing?
Yeah, the timing for the signals.
Yeah.
So it is true that there was an anomaly that they were working with, but what it was untrue is that it was time dilation that they were working with. Because when they invoked that with the mathematics, it didn't work. They instead had to invoke a separate linear equation that had to do with the fact that we actually see a faster speed of light, a faster rate of propagation of electromagnetic waves going east to west than we do west to east, which would imply a preferred reference frame, which debunks relativity on its face. The mathematics for relativity didn't work, and instead they invoked mathematics for ether spin. That's why it's a consistent linear equation for that, where it's just a faster rate of propagation going one way.
So the gosh, there's a lot to unpack there, man. A lot. The ether is not a thing. So there may be a preferred frame. We have this cosmic microwave background radiation, and we can create a frame that relative to it is at rest. That is, that we don't see any red shift or blue shift in any direction relative to microwave background radiation, and that would be kind of the master frame of the universe. It would have the fastest running proper clock on it. But the satellite, man, so yes, I can have a spherical system where I have something very simple and I can solve it, and then I can transform it to any system that I want. Right? I could do it. Doesn't even have to have like obey curvature. It could be like a weird non-conformal transformation or something like that. But that doesn't mean that it's the truth of things. And so remember, physics is just about trying to find the simplest representations that match what we see in nature. And in having an oblate spheroid that has a fairly spherical gravitational field, there's a little deviation from it because the Earth is not a perfect sphere, but that produces forces that act on objects that are in space that you can make predictions on, man, and those are verifiable. I mean, we get data from satellites, their ephemeris, that gives us their positions, their states. We can also track them with radars and other kinds of sensors, and we collect data on these things.
Did you catch the projection right up front, right? Because you said up front that we can take I can take the spherical coordinate system and I can transpose it to whatever I want. Couldn't that be said the reverse? Couldn't you say that I can take a coordinate system from whatever I want?
You
right?
Can, and then
transpose
we have to be
to a globe.
No, you're right, and you can, and we have to be careful as physics that we don't just like invent a bunch of math that that just seems to work. So like wormholes.
I would think that would definitely.
Math, right? But we haven't observed them. But hold on, let me finish. The way we try to make sure we don't invent a bunch of math that just seems to work is through data, right? Through making sure that we can match the data that we observe, and I'm telling you, so if you had a good flat Earth model that made predictions that could be verified, and these would be like with respect to atmospheric data, to collect the data that we collect in space, to gravitational data that we also collect with ground sensors and space sensors, then people have told you before, I go code it up. I code as part of my job, and I would go test it out. But the thing is that just from a gravitational point of view alone, there's hardly any way that thing of that flat Earth will satisfy the systems that we actually have in place right now, that we use every day for comms, for location, for other things.
I mean, the thing about it though is that when you say things like that, it's hard to take you seriously because when you're saying like, "Oh, the comms is working off of the globe Earth," it's like, no, it's not. These are electromagnetic wave propagation, and it's done via line of sight over flat planes, right? And so,
not all. No, it's not, man. It's not. So radio waves can bounce off the ionosphere. That is not a flat plane.
But not over. So we can agree that at 100 megahertz and higher, that they will not bounce off the ionosphere, correct?
I can't remember the plasma frequency, but there's some cutoff frequency. There's some cutoff.
It's like 109, and we have
if you go
that.
Short, yeah, go ahead.
Well, we have that frequency and higher at 2,500 miles, shot via line of sight, and it works.
Yeah, so I
feel like I keep saying this too.
the Schumann. So there are certain frequency electromagnetic waves that can refract around the Earth. There's not a lot of it. The Schumann resonance gives you some of that. There are certain electromagnetic waves that you can bounce off the ionosphere. Not all of them. because
But the
we
only
have
reason
systems that penetrate the ionosphere all the time,
But the
electromagnetic
only
systems.
reason why we're assuming that these things, that the Schumann resonance, for example, that well, this has to wrap, this is refracting around the whole Earth. No, it's just the right frequency to be able to not attune through the Earth,
If it was,
right? It's just able to travel across the plane. But if the Earth was curved, right, then we should expect it to go off, and you have to invoke some sort of refraction for it, which they are all ad hoc, right? We have to agree on that all these like layers and refractive things came after the fact. We realized that the predictions were not lining up without these.
No. The predictions line up. I mean, you have Maxwell's equations, and on a flat plane, there is no resonance. Everything propagates, and you're only subject to attenuation. So the difference between the plane and the Earth is on the plane, attenuation is your limiting factor. On the Earth, you have refraction because you have to be in resonance, a geometric resonance, and you have attenuation. So I would say that like on a flat Earth, all the waves are going to propagate in a similar manner. On a globe Earth, you're only going to have a small select frequency, and that's what you see. The stuff you're talking about that goes past what we would call line of sight are a specific frequency, not all of them. And so I think an easy test you could run is just go take something that's a broadband emitter and just keep pumping up the power, and you will see you don't get a line of sight for all frequencies once you go over the horizon. And that's this experiment we could do. It'd be expensive, I bet. This is the problem, Tribune. Is like some of these experiments are expensive, dude. Like if you want to probe, the conditions in the center of the sun, you have to build a huge accelerator that costs billions of dollars, and that's what we've done. That's what we've done with Fermilab and CERN, actually hundreds and thousands of times hotter and denser than what's in the sun in our accelerators. And we learned a lot, and we know we have a lot to learn, man. Like quantum mechanics is highly fine-tuned, like to get the vacuum right, to get some of the cosmological parameters, to control some of the physical parameters. There's a lot of fine-tuning. Once you do get that fine-tuning, you have a very good theory that explains things, but it has big holes in it. But I'll tell you again, like I tell you all the time, the holes are not shaped. That is known. That has been known for a long time. There are holes though that we need help like addressing, and we hopefully will keep going that way.
Yeah, the big difference between you and I at this point would be that because you have internalized, the mathematics as a physics professor. What exactly was your profession again? Were you a professor or just somebody who likes physics?
No, I taught physics for a little bit. I do have a PhD, but I'm in an industry. And like I've told you, I work on satellite systems and artificial intelligence systems for testing systems. So that's kind of what I do.
Chris, they're laughing at internalized mathematics. That's so funny. Jorge, you could agree with me that when you do mathematics for something over and over again for 10, 20 years, that you then internalize that math and that it becomes more intrinsically a part of what you...
It is a language and a way of thinking. I completely agree with you. Yes. You do start to just, it does affect the way you think about things.
It's just a fact, right?
And yeah, there's
it doesn't mean it's not true, obviously. It's just a thing, right? Whether it's true or not, it does affect the way that you think. So, in any case, what I was trying to say is that because you have faith in the scientific institutions and have faith in NASA and the other world agencies that have done space exploration, and I'm not saying this to be, I'm not saying this in like a mean way or anything. I'm just saying it as a matter of fact, right? Because that you do have faith these things did indeed happen and that the data is in fact on the up and up, and you believe that it's on the up and up because you believe that all kinds of different people from different fields are making predictions off of it, even though they may not necessarily be doing that. That because this is the case, that means that you're actually one of the good Globers that doesn't even say that it's 100. It's 100% because you do agree that 100% settled. You could be convinced, right, with a good argument. So I hold on to hope. I just don't believe in the stories with the extra data sets and the whole we mapped out the Milky Way and turned it into a GPS. I don't.
No,
believe
dude,
that.
we did that. It actually breaks my heart a little bit that we did that, and then I have to. I come on these lives with smart people like you and debate this because we did do that. And let me just make a point. I have faith that the scientific method is valuable. It is the right way to do something, and that is as far as my faith extends. Like I don't have faith in NASA or institutions. I like people in general, but I have faith that the scientific method works, and beyond that, it's all evidence based, man. So NASA does stuff where you have data; they collect a lot of data, and you can see that they're doing good science along with other agencies across the country. Do they always do like great science? Probably not great, but I think they're always trying to do good stuff, man. And look, do you think that we need like a taxpayer-funded center of science that helps us do fundamental research?
No,
No,
So that's
but
where we would disagree.
NASA's already taken our tax dollars for their bullshit research. So
They
how much
haven't
more
taken
tax dollars do
I
they
shit.
need?
heed.
They haven't
I
taken
heed.
shit.
Hold on. I heed Eisenhower's warning about the scientific industrial complex.
Military industrial complex.
No, he specifically said the scientific. Like the military was one as well, but there's also the scientific industrial complex that actually he warned us about that even more so, that was more insidious because basically we fall into very easily because it's actually because of the way our courts rule, in my opinion, that experts, quote unquote experts, can make determinations of fact, and the expert doesn't always have to say something that's factual. It can just be a so we anyway, we take these scientists to just always be factually based, and unfortunately, that's just not the case.
What's the data, man? It's not about the people or the feelings. It's just the data. And so you say that I
Okay,
trust
so
NASA. I'm not saying I trust NASA.
Let's
keep talking about all this data.
Hold on, let's address the data point. So when we're talking about, yeah, but you don't. We have data. Let's talk about the Eddington experiment. They presented only 2 plates that barely had enough light on it to say that they had the occultation. Talking, of course, about the observation with the star being seen through the sun. They barely had.
Dude, fine, whatever. The precession of the perihelion.
Hold on, I'm just talking about the way.
I mean, that was.
I'm talking about the way. Hold on, I'm talking about the way that they
calculation
acquired the data, right?
and
So
prediction.
they did 36 plates. They only got 2 of them. They couldn't really replicate it well. And they just, again, promote it as proof and that it was a great experiment and that it worked all good. And that's the data we're supposed to trust.
It's just more evidence for the theory, man. It already had good
It's actually not,
predictions.
though. It's actually not, though.
Yo, I have a question for the about the globe. And before I get off here and free up my spot, well, I guess we to lead into my question, I want to know. So we're taught that we have an iron core, right? That basically controls the magnetic field, right?
It's not really in the core. I think we think it's maybe the molten metal that's around the core, like not in the actual center. It's
well, we
really
don't need a maybe. We need a fact. So, from my understanding, the iron core and how the Earth spins from the core has it has something to do with our magnetic field, right? Right.
the motion. Yeah, some internal motion inside the
Okay.
Earth is producing a magnetic
So
field.
that's a yes. So that's a yes, right?
Yes.
All right. So I've seen an experiment where iron, the hotter iron gets, the more it loses its magnetic attraction.
Yep.
And they melted this iron all the way down to basically where it was just basically molten, and they rubbed and they passed something magnetic by it, a magnet actually, and the melted down version of the iron had no effect. Now, iron, when I looked it up, iron has a melting point of 2,800 degrees for iron to. That's how hot Fahrenheit you need to melt iron. Now, we were taught that at the iron core, the Earth is at 4,000 degrees. So how is the iron core is at 4,000 degrees and still has an effect with our magnetic field when it melts at 2,800 degrees and it loses its total magnetic attraction?
Okay. It's not the iron core that's making the magnetic field.
Oh, so you changing the answer? All the experts say that
There's not.
that
It's not.
the
There's no.
magnetic field comes from the iron core, from the Earth spinning on its iron core.
Sorry about that.
So just go look it up, man. The source
I
of the
did.
Earth's magnetic field is still being tried. It's still being understood, man. Science does not know everything, and we're not. I'm not up here as a scientist to tell you that we have the universe figured out. Like we
Okay.
don't know some stuff about the
Yeah,
sun.
you do. You have all
This
the
Okay.
data. What are you talking about?
no.
You can't make
Okay.
both
Fair
claims.
enough.
Or
Fair. So they've
be
been understood.
disingenuous, right?
So hold on.
You
So fair enough. So hold on. So if it ain't been understood, if it has not been understood, and they still trying to figure out the core, what you just said, why are they putting it in the science books as facts?
They're putting it in as their best hypothesis, and if there's some evidence for it, strong evidence, they'll put it as a theory, man. The latest I know about the Earth's magnetic field is that the precise mechanisms for how it is produced and why it flips are not completely understood. And that is science trying to science, man, and get better. Like I'm not sitting here telling you, trust me. Something's going on in there, and we don't really care what it is, but it makes a magnetic field. I mean, we're trying to figure it out, dude. It is hard. It's a hard problem. It's a big, nonlinear, hard problem. Extreme material properties going on in there, just like you called out rightfully so yourself. Like
So what you don't want to tell everybody is it's pretty much a blind guess, right?
it's a
Basically, just what
hypothesis, man.
yeah.
It's a
It's
blind
not
guess.
blind.
Yeah.
It's
But
not blind.
even though an experiment
Okay,
was
so
done on
why do you think
iron
there's a
to
magnetic field?
basically the results of the experiment basically debunks that we have an iron core under us.
Electrostatics would be a good approximation there,
So
Jorge.
it is, for the last I've read, and admittedly I haven't looked at this in a while. Like it is not the actual core, the center part of the Earth that's making the magnetic field. It's something that's around the core. And there may be somebody in the chat, geologist or somebody that knows better than me. I have not studied that stuff. I try to keep up in general with science so I can come talk to y'all and not feed disinformation. And no, Jay, I've never got. You've been on tons of lives with me, dude. Don't start that shit. I have never
So
gotten
what?
on here and said that science knows everything about everything. Never. Never said.
Can
What are
I
you
ask
talking
you,
about? You
what's
all
the
the data.
definition of blind?
Like
I've
you
never.
know, I call
What's
it as
the
I see it. Like,
what's the definition of blind?
That is true.
What's the definition of blind?
You tell me, man.
Something you
Then
cannot see,
I have one
right?
more question.
Something you cannot see,
Then
something
I have one
without
more question. Then I
sight.
got to get off here. When
Sorry, man. Do you think?
Have we ever seen
All right, let him.
anything in the molten core?
1 second.
And I put that in quotations.
Mike, that's a great point. I do want to let Jamaican say his last little piece here, and then he's going to hop on off.
All right, go ahead, dude.
okay,
Of
my
course.
last question is this. All right, we're taught that we can't feel the Earth rotating, especially while we're standing on the Earth because the Earth is so big and we don't see it spinning because of gravity and the Earth is so big or whatever. However, when we go back and look at Phoenix Baumgartner, it's actually two versions of that jump. You know, you had a third person where it has a GoPro camera set outside the gondola or pod or wherever he's in, and it shows a massive curve. But it's the very second when he opened his hatch or whatever, you don't see the curve. It's actually flat. Now, that's the third person view. Now, on the
It's
first
not.
person
It's not
view,
flat.
hold on. Now, on the first person view, when it shows his jump from his body cam, as he opened the pod, he looks down on Earth and the Earth is not spinning. Now, y'all claim that when we on Earth, we can't feel it spin, we can't see it spin or anything. But he was 121,000 feet, 127,000 feet. Not only is he not standing on Earth or whatever, he's also no longer in the atmosphere. He was like in the stratosphere or something. So now we can't use that argument that the atmosphere moves with the earth or whatever because he was no longer in the atmosphere and you still do not see the earth spinning below him when you looking through his body cam down on earth. Can somebody please explain? With that far up, with over 100,000 feet, and you're looking down on Earth, you should be able to see it rotating under your feet, since he's no longer standing on Earth.
Okay. Do you
And
do you
how'd that go?
genuinely want me to explain that? Because I will.
Well, that's
Go
when
Or
I
are
ahead.
you
bring up
just
the
are you
theory
just
of
asking it because you
relativity
think
and
it's
how
a gotcha
everything's
and there's
relative
absolutely
based on the
no
mass of the object
physical?
that
No,
you're
I
around.
think he wants to talk about
It's
it.
a
He sounds like
statement.
he wants to talk about it.
Okay. So the Earth rotates once per day. That is 0.0006 revolutions per minute. So let me ask you, Jamaican, can you see the hour hand on your clock moving when you watch it?
You stare
So
at it long enough, you will. Yeah.
yeah,
If
so
I'm
the answer to
turning,
that's no. You can't. And then now slow it down by a
yeah,
factor of 2 because it's got to go.
yeah, yeah.
That's subjective.
I've
That's
actually
subjective.
sat there. I've actually sat there and watched a face clock for about 15, 20 minutes from the 6 to the 9, because I know as it gets to the 9, the shorthand will start to move. Right. Actually,
Yep.
when it gets to the 6, it starts to move. It
Yeah.
starts to move slowly,
So you watch it.
and
You,
yeah,
you watch it for
and
like 20, 30 minutes. You can see it move a little bit, right?
yeah, I was bored and had nothing to do, so I just sat there and stared at the clock.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, this Felix guy he didn't have 30 minutes to look at the Earth spinning under him. He had a couple of minutes.
But
So
you're
now
saying if he did, he would have seen it move?
I'm saying if
No.
he could have dropped at the Earth for about an hour and he had some reference point, and I mean a reference point because you're only seeing that clock move because
Reference
you
point says to
can
what?
see the hand like a
Face to a right
and the
angle. It has
dim.
to have a flat plane in
For the
reference.
trade in the air, not the Earth is gonna move. Like you're
That's a
not gonna
great
see that.
example.
But
No,
this
so
is
I'm just
crazy
telling you, the
because
Earth
when
spins
we
very slowly. The Earth is a very slow spinner, and so for
It's actually a
we
very
I
fast
know, and the
spin.
moon spins
no, it's not.
perfectly
Who
also. It's all
But
very convenient. It's all
who
very
said
convenient.
that? Who said it's a fast
that's
spinner?
me.
but this is crazy
It
because
is a
when we watch
fast
it from the
spin.
ISS, it's moving very rapidly.
It
What do you
spins
mean?
Thousand
around
RPM is
once
pretty,
per day.
1,000 miles an hour is
How
pretty
can that
What?
fast.
be fast? It goes around once per day. How
The
can that be?
Yes.
ISS? The
Yeah,
ISS
when
goes
The ISS
once
goes
in
17,000
90
Yeah,
miles per
minutes,
hour.
y'all. It takes 90 minutes for the
yeah. The
ISS to
ISS is
circle the
going
Earth.
17,500 miles an
It's
hour.
fast AF. And
Yeah.
and when
So
you
you
when you
have to
look at
believe you have to believe that
Have
it's
you seen any
going
of their footage from the
it's going like
ISS?
12 times faster
Have you
than a
seen any of it?
bullet. So that's pretty awesome. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yes, that's the beauty of having no air. So
Must
you
be
can just
some
you can
steel
go
being in the
fast.
thermosphere. What
Yeah.
must be some
And then you
steel
look at their
being in the
hatches.
thermosphere?
Yeah, their
There,
wonderful fucking
So
technological
you said there was the
advancements.
beauty of having no air.
Flopping and
All right, you
nebulae.
guys are all over the
Felix,
place. We're back.
Well,
Felix,
I mean,
Felix Baumgartner was in the same spot. He was in the
let's
same
stick on the
spot.
ISS. How
He
is it
was
in the thermosphere?
no, but
Yeah, there you go.
I
Good
use
point.
it
We don't
I
have a
use it
metal
as
on
an
this
example.
planet that would withstand that heat.
I use it as an example. Now he mentioned, I think Jorge mentioned, or somebody mentioned it was awesome. You know, they up there with no air. Felix Baumgartner was up there with no air as well. Otherwise, he wouldn't have the need to be equipped with a helmet and a
yeah, but
oxygen
he
tank.
wasn't as high up, man, as
No
the
heat,
space
Jay.
station.
You
He
don't
wasn't
know what you're
anywhere near
talking
that
about,
high.
probably.
But he was high up enough to
Oh
see
yeah,
the
yeah.
Earth rotating.
No, it doesn't matter how high up you go. The Earth rotates once in 24 hours, no matter how far you are from it. So it is a very slow rotator. It is half as fast as the hour clock on your clock. It's going half that fast.
Bro, when you look at his body cam, it doesn't even move a degree.
Yeah,
It doesn't
actually
even
going
move
back
two
to the
degrees.
theory
It's
of
not going to move
relativity,
a
which is
degree.
a theory in
It
itself,
moves
saying that
50.
the actual instrument shrinks with the fucking passage of
It was
time expanding, so you couldn't register it. That's all a theory. It's bullshit.
What?
It's
it, it,
bullshit.
it
It,
was so many
it's measuring
things
the
when
passing of
it
light, the speed of light, right? Something we can't measure, right? Saying that based on how close you are to a gravitational object, it affects time and space, meaning that the instrument has to shrink as everything goes faster in order for it to remain looking stationary. If you look into it, that's exactly what it says.
No,
You will
dude.
not be able to register.
You don't have to
What?
invoke general and special relativity with the stuff we're talking
You
about.
do indeed.
We're not talking about
You do
GPS
indeed.
clocks here.
We don't need to be talking about GPS clocks.
Well, you
We're
do if
talking about
you have to use special relativity and general relativity for GPS to work.
it would seem that the Coriolis effect should have affected Felix as well. Not only that,
It
when I
did.
did the math, when I
It
forgot
did.
how I even got the number because it was years ago when I did it, and I had it written down somewhere. But we moved to another house, and I done lost all my data. I misplaced all my data. But when I did the math, Felix Baumgartner, have like when you want to factor in wind direction that can push somebody off their target, he was supposed to land it nearly 70 miles from where he jumped from. He landed 70 miles from where he jumped from, but when I did the Melvin and
That's
I
the direction of the
factored in how
rotation.
fast he was dropping at like Mach 1 or something at 7, he was dropping at like 600 on top of 1,000 plus miles an hour of the Earth's rotation. He should have landed 800 miles from where he dropped from, seeing as the Earth was spinning under him in mid-flight.
He was spinning with the Earth.
Oh, but,
So
but
you're
Like
when
saying
he,
like
but
when he
the
when
went
he,
up,
atmosphere moves in tandem
he
with
had
the Earth? Is that
tangential.
what you're telling me?
Oh, I'm
but
sorry, I didn't
how
hear
is he
you. What were you
spinning with the
saying?
Earth?
Are you saying the
How is he
atmosphere
spinning with the
is?
Earth? If
Are you saying the
huh?
atmosphere is in lockstep with the Earth's rotation?
Yeah, the atmosphere rotates with the Earth. Do
Okay,
you
so
not know
explain
that?
to me how flights aren't affected. Are you
Exactly.
saying that it is?
So the atmosphere is moving with the Earth. That's why when you stand on Earth, there's
That's
not
all I wanted to
1,000
drop
mile
off.
per
That's
hour
what you're saying.
speed
So we
at
should
the
have
equator,
1,000 mile an
like
hour
wind
trade
speed.
winds.
No, so I'm just want to
We
make
should
sure we're
have
clear
1,000
here.
mile
Like
an hour trade winds.
when I stand on the equator of the Earth.
I'm trying to make sure we're clear.
Okay, go ahead, man. Let's be
Do
clear
you
on your
understand
terms.
what you're saying? Do you understand what you're saying? If the Earth is spinning at 1,000 miles per hour,
Yes,
we should have 1,000 mile an hour trade winds in east to west rotation.
that's not what I'm saying. The
That
the
is exactly
atmosphere,
what you were
the
saying.
atmosphere is
That the
turning with the
atmosphere
Earth.
moves in lockstep with the Earth's rotation is what you're saying,
It does.
which
Yes.
would dictate there's 1,027 mile an hour, to be specific, wind current. That's
At
what
the
you're saying.
at the equator,
At the
the
equator,
wind.
yes.
Yes. Please let me answer because you won't let me answer.
You don't have one, but continue.
The Earth. Let's just go to the equator. When you stand on the equator, you're moving roughly about 1,000 miles per hour, and you don't have 1,000 mile per hour wind blowing on you at the equator. That means that the wind
So no
is
lockstep.
shut up.
No lockstep.
Look,
All right,
Tribune,
you gotta.
So no lockstep.
You got an echo now. Everybody scroll your notifications.
I'm getting an echo. All right. So when you're standing there, the wind is not blowing on you at 1,000 miles per hour because the air is moving with the Earth with you.
Scroll your notification bar.
Retrograde, that's you, man.
Scroll your notification bar.
All right, hold on. Oh, is it done? All right. Well, you were about to get kicked, retrograde. Is it done? All right. Well, you were about to get kicked, retrograde. No, you're getting kicked, retro. Can't figure out your echo.
It's still an echo.
Well, I can't see how some of my mic's going crazy.
There is not 1,000 mile an hour wind blowing on us because the air is moving with us with the Earth. I do not understand how you could possibly fathom that it could be otherwise. Just make it make sense for me, man. Just pretend I'm like 4 years old. Make it make sense. Where's
The
the
wind
1,000 mile an
travels
hour wind?
across the earth. I don't know. Like, is that a?
Y'all just make it make sense for me. I'm gonna go on mute.
So if it's moving in
Tribune, I'm trying
lockstep with
to
the
absorb
Earth,
what
you
I
should
just
be able
heard.
to be in a hot air balloon and travel
It's not
from
my
one
point,
destination to another. You should be able to hover and travel from one location to another, and that's not the case, at least not at that speed. You can't have it both ways. You can't say,
don't
oh,
have
it's
it both ways.
traveling with the Earth, but yet something that hovers stationary on its own is not moving independently with the atmosphere moving around it. Do you
Tribune,
understand what I'm saying?
Tribune, can you please
can't have it
explain it
both
to
ways.
him?
Yeah, no, I can. Well, word it a little bit better. Maybe you can explain it to all of us. So, correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, but basically you're explaining the whole conundrum that is the Coriolis effect and how it's a selective force, and how do you have something that is literally defined as the displacement due to the Earth turning, right? It's a pseudo force. It's not like an actual force causing things to
pseudo,
drift
not
in their
proven,
model,
yeah.
right? It is in the FE model, but it's not in the globe model. It's a fictitious force caused by the displacement caused when something rises up off of the surface off of the spinning sphere. So how what you're saying actually intuitively sounds correct, right? Now, when you rise up, if Coriolis is a thing, then the Earth does indeed spin under things, and it should spin under the balloon at that rate. But we're not seeing that.
Right.
Instead, we see a slight drift because Coriolis effect is actually just a
Not in one direction, in any direction.
Well, it's because we have inertia, and everything else around us has inertia. And when we are on the Earth spinning with it, we are spinning with it, and so we're moving in that same direction. So when I go up in
Are
my
we
hot air
spinning
balloon,
with it, or are
it
we
has
just...
it still has the same spin motion that it did with the Earth, and the wind is moving with the Earth too. And to your point, Michael,
Does it?
there are local weather patterns that do not just go with the Earth's spin. You are absolutely right. Not everything is one monolithic thing, but the atmospheric, the gross motion of the particles of air in the atmosphere are determined by the spin. And then on top of that, you have deviations, which would be our trade
Prove
winds,
it.
our weather
Prove
patterns.
it.
Just, dude, there's like 2,000 weather satellites and instrumented balloons that prove all that. We routinely
Prove that it's
take.
caused by the Earth? I don't think so.
So I don't know what you mean by proved that it's caused by the Earth.
Motion of the Earth.
right.
That's what I mean.
Cause and effect relationship. Basically, how do you from the rotation of the Earth and not the rotation of like something like in the sky?
hot and
Or,
cold
that's right,
front.
because you don't believe in ether at all. So you don't believe in ether wind.
No, it's not a belief about ether, man.
It is a
Like,
belief on your terms,
no.
saying
So
that
listen,
the
maybe
overall motion of the winds are caused by the Earth's motion. That one is directly correlated with the other. That is your belief.
it's not a belief. It's just based off of like mechanics, Newtonian
What you were
mechanics
told.
type stuff, conservation of angular momentum, the frictional forces, dissipation. There's a whole thing that goes into it, man. And there's no way for you to have like a
If it's
spinning
not a
planet with the
belief,
atmosphere not spinning.
submit physical fact. Recreate an experiment. If it's not a belief, recreate it yourself. Can you do that?
Yeah, you can do that. Go take a ping pong ball and spray some water on it and turn it and watch the water turn with the ping pong ball. Just
you mean
go
watch
do that.
the centrifugal motion
Just
take
go do
effect,
it.
which has no
and better
it has
yet,
no
Michael,
correlation to the conversation we're having.
and then better yet, spin it at once per day if you can even do that. You're gonna have to buy a special motor to do that because it's outside of human abilities to spin something once per day.
Again, your argument is fucking.
That's not
I'm not trying to be rude, but your argument is redundant and idiotic.
Jorge,
Okay? You were telling me
that last thing you just said was objectively not true. I mean, it would be a pain in the ass, but you could totally spin something one time in a day.
I don't think a human can spin something at a constant angular rate once per day. I just don't think we have the precision to do that.
Sure, I can agree.
And I don't think a motion.
So Michael, go spray a ping pong ball with water and turn it once per day and watch the water on that ping pong ball. Stay with it.
Discussion at hand.
Stay with it. So that's all we're saying. So it's the same kind of thing.
Okay. No, it's not. Not even close.
Can I ask you something real quick, Jorge?
Yes, you can, Jay.
So, am I to be under the impression you guys solved the n-body problem, or?
Yeah, we can solve the n-body problem in the computer. So okay. I'll talk about the n-body problem just for a second. I'm not gonna monologue here. So anything above the 3-body problem does not admit to like a non-chaotic solution. So we can write down the equations that determine the dynamics, and then we have to solve them numerically, and they have extreme sensitivity to initial conditions. That's what chaos is, right? Chaos is a system that if you change initial conditions just a little bit, you get wildly different behavior. So we have solved.
Do you know the reason why? Do you know the reason why that problem is so hard? It's because it doesn't go into chaos, right? But you're assuming that it does.
Oh, it does go into chaos.
That it could assume chaos, right? But
No, it goes
what
into
we
chaos.
observe is not chaos, right? We don't observe chaos. We observe actually complete order. That
What?
the stars, the same sun positioning, the same moon positioning, all come back into the same order.
Thank you.
But
With
you want to say that
Jay,
they go into
Crazy.
Jay,
chaos?
with respect to like stability theory and the solution of differential equations,
So chaos is the
our
only answer to it.
our solar
I
system
mean, all
is
observable
probably
reality.
highly improbable. In other words,
So why do you
there's
believe
Your
in it?
theory
probably
of it
not another
probably
one
is,
like it.
yeah.
It
But
probably
they
doesn't
went to
exist.
space and they proved these systems, but then they couldn't solve the systems.
But
So
I will
I
say,
mean, come on.
what I will say is that it's probably a lot more likely in the universe that there's life around like a gas giant, like a Saturn or Jupiter, and intelligent life is probably on a system like that versus something like the Earth, because the Earth, the
And
stability for
are you
our
going to follow that
orbits,
with
it's hard. It's
it's
hard.
subjective, it's a theory, or it's fact?
I'm saying that the in-body problem, when applied to our solar system, leads to chaotic orbits, which have the Earth like either spun into the sun or into empty space, unless the mass of Jupiter and the sun are kind of fine-tuned in the way they are. So we Jupiter and the sun and their ratio of masses are almost they're really nicely tuned to keep Earth in a stable orbit.
That's
So that's
nice.
why I think our solar system is
Nice
improbable. I'm
wording.
not going to say impossible,
So
but
so so
improbable.
can we put this in layman terms? Your system, your model doesn't work.
No, it has to work because they
I
work
mean, can we say that
backwards.
it's 10 to the 127th power is wrong?
How did what I
And
just
that's
say
why you
imply that the model didn't work? I told you that
have
that
dark
because of
matter.
the way that Jupiter and
That's
the
why you had to invoke
sun's
dark matter.
mass
So
worked out.
so the little mobile that you displayed, does that work?
This right here,
A little mobile, like
yeah, that works.
what everybody
use
sees.
I use this every day at
Is
work.
that how it is?
Yeah, I use this stuff every day at work, literally. Well, I actually have a slightly better function for gravity because this assumes a spherical
Math,
object, and the
math
Earth is
is a
not
great
completely
tool.
spherical. Huh?
Yeah, math is a great tool. It's just a language, right?
I said math is a great tool.
Math is a great tool. Physics is about representations, and they're worth anything if they match what we see in the data. I mean, I just keep telling you guys this. It's not a religion or a
But
belief system. It just has to. You go collect the data, and if you don't trust the data, like every sensor has been put up has this like 200-page calibration report that tells you how they calibrate the sensors so that you can understand the quality of the data that you get from them.
hey,
You
hey,
can
hey,
understand that.
what are some of those values going to be? Like an assumed value of the circumference of the Earth, an assumed value of the distance of the stars that could be completely different if
No, like is and gains and stuff, and how efficient are you converting photons to electrons, and what is the rate of that conversion, and how sensitive are you across different
20
wavelengths
minute
of
warning.
photons,
We got our 20-minute warning.
and so it's not earth based, Jay. It's like electric based, like the stuff that y'all like.
clearly
It's
not.
all
But
mostly E&M based.
Is it okay? Just real quick, I want to do a roll call.
whatever, bro.
I
I
know
see what you're doing all night, bro. It's all good.
Mike and Jay. We got obviously you guys are flat earthers. J Rod, welcome to the show as well. What's your persuasion? Flat Earth, globe Earth.
Well, I know the Earth is globe.
Okay, awesome.
Can you provide any evidence?
Yeah, of course. So there's a little experiment anybody can do. You take a monocle or a monoscope, whatever you want to call it, and
Foucault's
you take a
pendulum?
straight edge. I'm sorry.
You're going to
Name
invoke
the
Foucault's
experiment.
pendulum?
Mike, you're doing
No.
really bad with interrupting,
No.
man. I'm sorry. You gotta chill out.
My apologies. I'll be quiet.
No, it's not Foucault's pendulum. So what you do is you take a monocle or a monoscope, and what you do is you take a straight edge, draw a straight edge across the middle of the lens. Okay. Then you take 6-foot sticks, you put them a mile apart from each other, and then you take a look at the height of the sticks, and it will show that the sticks actually go down, which means there's a curve. Simple.
So how are you
And that
Boom.
actually,
your variables?
There it is,
Your
y'all.
grades and stuff.
what was that, Jay?
How are you accounting for the variable experiment? Because you
What
have to have.
variables are you talking about?
So
What variables are you talking about?
so land surveyors actually have to go out and measure grade that you can't see with your own eye. So
Yeah.
And they don't deal with curvature for 100 miles, but you're dealing with it with those couple sticks. I find that very
It's going to
unbelievable.
be 6-foot sticks.
How do you know it's
one
not
at each mile
topographical
out.
conditions?
It's not, because if you actually do it on
Because you
a
say?
flat surface for 6 miles, you can.
How do you know it's
So,
flat? Did you get it graded? Did you get it surveyed?
of course, you ever hear the
Have you
the
ever looked
Bedford
in
Level experiment?
perspective?
Have you ever
So
heard of the Bedford
because of
Level
this
experiment?
Eratosthenes experiment?
Guys, you guys
That's
made
what
this pretty difficult. I'm just trying to let him get to the one point without everybody talking at once and flooding it, right? I know everybody's got to get their piece, but come on.
Okay,
Bedford Level
so
experiment.
have you guys?
Yeah, we've heard of that.
Yeah. Okay, so that experiment was debunked roughly like 30 years afterwards by the guy I can't remember his whole name, but his last name is Wallace. He was actually sued twice by the guy who came up with the Bedford Level experiment, and Wallace won both of those cases. After the guy who came up with the Bedford Level experiment died, his wife tried to sue the guy for for a third trial, and that trial was actually it was basically thrown out because there wasn't enough evidence that the wife could provide of a flat Earth.
I've heard the reverse of this story, so it's confusing. I've heard the opposite. Pretty funny.
I've actually read there's actual books and stuff. There's newspaper articles, so many different references that actually say that it was thrown because the wife didn't have enough flat Earth evidence.
That's so funny. Yeah, so when you're saying that the rod's dropping in the distance, right, you're obviously measuring the top of the rod, right?
Correct.
Okay. And obviously the top of the rod is going to be higher than the projected horizon line, correct?
No, because you're actually doing so. You basically take the monocle and you point it at the horizon. You take a straight line, make sure it lines up with the horizon. You draw that straight line,
Okay.
and there's your horizon.
Okay, so where's the rod in this? What is dropping that we're measuring?
So from the person that is holding the monocle and making the observations, you go a mile from him is the first rod. A mile after that is the second rod. A mile after that is
Sure.
the third, and so on. So by the time you get to 6 miles, you have the sixth pole.
Okay, so here's my thing when it comes to that, because we are measuring from the top of the poles. I'm going to address this as directly as I possibly can.
I mean, as long as they're all the same length, it doesn't matter. Any other variables don't account for anything.
Hold on. Can I just address the problem?
Yeah, no,
right?
Go ahead. I'm just saying.
So, yes, I get what you're saying. It's an argument that I'm very familiar with, and Jorge's trying to show the picture of I can't remember what the heck that bridge is called, but it's a really long bridge. They think that it's showing curvature, but I actually have a picture of it where it's not even dipping in the distance, so that's an optical effect towards the end. But in any case, this dropping that you're seeing, let me just get this straight. J-Rod, you think that this drop from pole to pole on this bridge is physical Earth curvature and not an optical effect going away from you?
Oh, I know it. I know it isn't. There's no way it could be.
What do you mean? There's no way it could be?
There's no way it could be. So you're taking your visual horizon, right? You're drawing a straight line at that on the lens.
Mm-hmm.
How would there be any kind of illusion to that?
No, it's not an illusion. So it's simple point perspective. Things that are further away from you and above the horizon line, above your eye level, are going to drop.
Yeah, but it's not above the horizon line. It's not above the horizon line.
So what's not above the horizon line? You're talking about now we're talking back again to the pole, right? For the
Correct.
observer that's a mile away. Okay, so just so you know, I wasn't even there yet. I was still at the bridge that Jorge was showing, just to show that, because that's a smaller, even more exaggerant scale of where it's obviously perspective, and it sounded like you claimed that it was Earth curve. So I mean,
No, not
which
on
is
that.
it?
I wasn't talking about that. I was talking
Okay.
about the experiment that actually proves the curve of the Earth.
Okay,
And I
so
was
when
just
you
showing
have
a
a
picture that proves it.
okay,
Well, I
so
mean,
you have
there's
a
evidence for it.
okay, so you have a mile away. You have
It's
a
not
pole in the
true.
ground, and this pole in the ground has visually
No,
dropped.
it's not in the
from,
ground. It's not in the ground.
Okay,
You
I'm
hold it
confused.
on the ground.
It's just okay. We're nitpicking, right? I mean, it's obviously it has a set height. Like that's the important part. Okay, so we have two poles
Correct.
that are assumed. You have two different assumptions, but you can assume that it's level, right? And they're at even heights, right? And you're saying that because when you look out through your monocle and see that it's not still at an even height, that one has dropped from the perspective of the other, that is vindictive
No,
of
that's
a curve.
that's not what that's not perspective, because
It
you
is.
still have the straight horizon level.
So
That
you
level's
simply
not going to
saying
change.
no. Okay, so I get your eye, right? Because you're holding down it's level from you, your eye height, right? Just because you have that doesn't mean that things that are further away and higher up will not optically drop due to perspective. This is a demonstrable thing. This will happen
No,
on flat
no,
plane.
that's not how perspective
That is
works.
literally how perspective
That's
works.
not how perspective
That is
works.
literally how perspective
Definitely.
No,
works.
it's not.
J-Rod.
100%.
Your perspective doesn't change the height of
It
things.
literally does.
It does.
It literally
No,
does.
it doesn't. So if
The height of the observer
so if I'm 6
dictates how
feet,
far you can see.
okay, let's say I'm 6
Yeah.
feet. If I go back 6 feet, do I still do I shrink?
To the observer
Yes.
optically, yes, absolutely.
No, no.
Okay, so I want you to stand on one
I'm
side
still
of a
6
football
foot.
field and have someone walk away from you and
Yes.
see what you can see
J-Rod,
of them.
I'm
physically-
still 6 foot.
Oh my God, J-Rod, physically, yes, you are 6 foot, but optically you have dropped to the observer. Okay, this is an obvious thing, easy to demonstrate. Just draw lines in Muppet Vision.
That's
2D.
what the straight
Hold on.
line.
J-Rod, if you draw it in 2D, right, you can actually figure with Euclidean geometry, which isn't even correct. If you read this paper behind me, that's been debunked. But you can get the angular size, and you can prove out that yes, the object physically shrinks, right? If an object physically shrinks, that means the top of it dropped down. Okay,
No,
that's
it
how
doesn't
shrinking
physically
works.
shrink. It stays the same.
No one says it's
You're talking about visually shrinking.
Yeah.
No. You're talking about visually shrink. You're talking about visually shrinking,
Yes.
J-Rod,
not
Yes, I am.
physically. Physically is
yes.
totally different from visually.
You're measuring it optically, right? You're not doing a steel rod to show that it's still level. You're optically measuring it. So yes, it's going to have an optical drop. You can't deny this.
Okay, so what? How do you say that it visually shrinks? It's 6 foot.
Angular size. So the angular size gets smaller as it goes further away
But your
from the
horizon
observer.
is at the same level. Your horizon, it doesn't
Depending on
matter.
your
Your horizon's
altitude.
still at the same
It'll
level.
always rise to high level or eye level, but based on
Yeah,
distance
but
and
you're
height
only
of
going
the
6
observer,
miles. You're not
that's
going
what
100
increases.
miles. You're not
Okay, so
going
let me ask you
200
this,
miles.
J-Rod.
You're going
J-Rod.
6 miles.
Let me
I
ask
love
you
it when
this.
the bias is
Hold on.
displayed.
I'm trying to clear up the confusion. So yes, it is true that the horizon is in the same spot. Yeah, that is true, right? The horizon doesn't have to change for this drop to happen, right? So the thing on the horizon still shrinks, right? It does this, right? The further away you get from it, and yes, the horizon does stay at the same level, but it's actually not even at the same distance, right? As you move away, the distance to the horizon or the exact spot of the horizon is going to change relative to you. Hence why, again, we actually do have direct measurements of curved visual space.
But you're not understanding my point. So the horizon is the visual max, correct?
Yeah.
So that line that you're putting across the lens is the visual max. So if it drops before the visual max, what other evidence do you need?
Well, see, it would have to drop after the visual max, wouldn't it? If the horizon was a sphere edge.
No, it wouldn't. No, it wouldn't.
How else would it do it?
But it does. That's the only way it
because of the
does.
curve of the Earth.
No, hold on. You just literally circle back. So what we see in reality is that this pole, because you're only a mile away from it, this pole is not all the way to the horizon, right? The horizon is past the pole.
The very first one, yes.
Right, yeah, the horizon's past the pole, obviously. And yes, the poles do merge into the horizon at a certain point. That's obvious, also obvious. But again, what you can actually measure, this drop that's happening, is a perfect drop. It's literally a perspective drop. You're just simply saying, no, it's not. It has to be due to Earth curvature. And you're not even providing a mechanic for why it would have to be Earth curvature.
So
when we literally see things in reality, you can model this on the computer. You don't have to take my word for it. Flat plane, they merge, right? And then you put things on that flat plane. The further away they get, the more they shrink into the horizon. The horizon is also below your eye level. Hold on, the horizon is
It's like a
also
long hallway.
the horizon is also slightly below your eye level. So yes, things will dip, will drop down to that horizon, which happens to be below your eye level. So yes, things can drop below your eye level. Even a mountain can drop to be below your eye level if it's far enough away.
It's like a long hallway. Like this is demonstratable on a flat ground, like in real
the
world.
long hallway, you can't even do that with the long hallway because it's not.
We've done it.
That is a visual representation of something
What do you
that
think
is.
your eyes are? Like what? Like I am not sure what you mean.
They sense light.
Like, you have a focal point. It
So-
dropped off, right? Like that's what's
So,
going
okay,
on.
so
This is a
if it was
perspective
flat,
issue.
no, it's not. If it was flat, all 6 poles would
You
line
can
up.
argue with yourself, but do
They would
research
not
on
go
it.
down at all.
Not arguing
J-Rod,
with
that's
me.
not true. They would demonstrably
Why is it not
merge.
true?
They would merge.
Why
into
is
the
it not true?
Because we see in point
A
perspective.
6.
Because
Listen,
there's clear
things
science
shrink.
on it.
Stop. I don't get how you're getting
No,
so confused
no.
on this. It's almost like you're being disingenuous.
I'm
on
not
purpose.
confused.
Stop
You
interrupting.
guys are the ones that are
No,
confused
we're not
about
confused
this.
at all.
You guys are the
Literally,
ones that are confused about this.
All right, I'm just
Because
gonna
if you
kick
take a level spot that is 6 miles,
you're not getting it. The spot can be
Hi,
level.
everybody.
You're going to have optical drop to the convergence point. Okay, that is obvious, and you're measuring that drop from the top of the things. I don't know why we're debating back and forth. We should be able to agree at least. Maybe you don't. But then I would be able to agree with you because the geometry is not matching up, right? We're seeing past what the physical horizon should be, right? And that's just an obvious debunk. Charlie, welcome
Hi,
to the show.
I like
going,
what he
buddy?
was saying. That was a good experiment. Y'all just out tedious Tim.
Hey,
What?
I'll ask you a quick question. On your map, it shows
Come
the
on,
sun
Jorge.
rising,
Stop being
at
disingenuous, Jorge.
northwest, and I can tell you in Australia, 100% it doesn't rise in the northwest, and it doesn't set in the northeast. I mean, it doesn't rise in the northeast, and it doesn't set in the northwest. So, on your model, it does that. So, how do you explain that? And I live here, and I can see where it is, and I know where our sun rises at the start. Is closer to Sydney in the west, not northwest. In Queensland, where you've got it.
You're not American, man. You don't matter.
Oh man, rough.
I jest.
That's all good, buddy. I knew you were joking. So can you answer that one for me or not? Because it clearly shows on your map where it is, and I can tell you that's not even close. You're thousands of kilometers off.
Which map are you looking at? Are you looking at Globey's version of the map? Are you looking at the actual Gleason's map? What map are you looking at?
The Gleason's map that well, look, I don't. It's the Gleason's map that yous will show me with the sun how it goes around, and you've got your sun how it goes around in your circle there, and if you have a look at it, it shows the sun rising on northeast in Australia. 100%.
Okay, we're gonna look at this. We're gonna look at this.
All right, good.
Because your time zones are correct. So you're saying your time zones are wrong on this map also?
Oh, I didn't say that. I haven't looked at the time zones.
Well,
So-
they're correct.
Don't show
Oh,
an
I'm not
Australian
saying that.
that. Charlie, I'm going to apologize for this map before you have to look at it.
Uh-huh.
Geez,
That's
there
fine.
it is. What y'all did to Australia?
It doesn't even look like
Because you
Australia.
guys have
God.
Correct.
because you guys have direct firsthand knowledge of the actual size and shape of Australia. That's rich.
Okay. Well, I have because
Charlie,
I've been across it with a GPS,
Speaking
and it
from
adds up to
indoctrination
exactly
right
what the
there, and he just
GPS says.
proved it. Right?
So I do.
Charlie,
So I
y'all mapped
do.
out Australia, Charlie.
Okay, so what issue
No,
do
I
you?
haven't mapped out. Have you mapped out America, buddy? Have you
No,
mapped out
Yeah,
Greenland?
yeah, yeah.
Have
No,
you
no, no, no,
mapped out
no. I'm gonna
anything?
show everybody
That's
in
just a
America something
stupid
really
thing to
cool right
say.
now. Watch.
I know,
I'm gonna
right?
show
I asked
everybody in
you.
America something really cool, right?
I asked you to show me. Can you
Okay.
show me the one? Can you show me the one where it shows your sun moving around and how it works? And then I'll
If I
show
can get
you
these
on that
lines in the
picture.
picture, right?
You
No, you're
let
not
it,
going to
Charlie.
show
Let
me
him
it.
have it, brother. I'm going
Check
on
this
mute
out.
because I
Check
think
this out.
Charlie's
This
got
is where
this.
your time zone. This is where your time zones change, right? In America.
I'm not talking
Anybody
time
that's in
zones. I
America right
don't want
there?
to know about time zones.
Does it
I
not?
asked you about a
Does it not
sunrise.
change right there?
I
Does it
asked you
not
about a
change right there?
sunrise.
You'll
I
be
asked you
Everything
about a
changed right
sunrise and a
there.
sunset.
Guys, come
Can
on
you
now.
Come on.
please? Can you
Like
please
this
go on the
is
sunrise? I asked about.
scientifically and practically correct.
You're
Like,
not. Why isn't it? Why don't you want to answer my question? I specifically asked you about a sunrise and a sunset, and you're
okay,
bringing
well,
up
let's work it
time
out.
zones.
You just had a problem with the map, so I was going to show
I
other people
don't
that
have a
this is a
problem with the
correct
map.
map. So,
I don't have a problem.
so
I'm
what about
telling
your
you,
time
it
zones? Can
doesn't
you
work.
attest to these time zones?
I haven't looked at your time zones, and I'd say that considering it was made up for children to do time zones, it might be right, eh? But that's not what my argument is. My argument is, can you
I'm
show
just
me
saying,
on
the
your
map is
map
correct.
why the sun is rising and setting in about nearly 2,000 k's difference where it should be?
Okay, so check this out. This is north, right? And then you'd have your east to
Yeah, I
west,
know where north is.
and
I
then
know
south,
where north is. I
south,
know where all that is.
south.
Yeah, I know.
Or is actually-
So you're going to ignore what I'm asking you, aren't you?
I'm trying to
You're not
explain.
even letting them get there.
He's bringing up time zones, which is directly correlated to
No, it's
when
not.
time of
No,
sunrise and sunset
What do you
happen.
mean it's not?
How is it
no. I
not,
asked
dude?
you a specific question where you've got your map where it shows you the sun going around. You're showing how the light works and how the sun works.
We have a map right
you
here
bring-
that has a
can
scale
you-
at the
can you
bottom
bring-
that will tell
Oh,
you like how it
dude.
goes.
We are going to go ahead and wrap it up, guys, because this has turned into a dumpster fire for most of this, man. There were a few good points, but most of it was bad. I thought you canned us. I did. I canned you all.
Into a dumpster fire for most
because
of
it's
this,
1 o'clock
man.
over here. 1 o'clock in the
There were
morning.
a few good points.
I'm ready to
but
go
most
to
of
bed.
it was
Right.
bad. I thought you canned us.
Absolutely
I
insane.
did.
I think it's
canned you
hilarious
all.
that you're
Because
asking
it's 1
something about
o'clock over here, 1
sunrise and
o'clock in the
sunset,
morning.
and yet
I'm ready to go to
they
bed.
bring up
Right?
time zones, which directly
Absolutely
have to
insane.
do
I think
with,
it's hilarious
you know,
that
where the sun's
you're asking
setting,
something about
where the sun's
sunrise
rising, you know,
and
the
sunset,
azimuth
and
angles
yet
and whatnot.
they bring up
And yet you're saying,
time
it's just
zones, which
irrelevant
have
completely.
directly
It's like
have
they're
to
obviously
do
trying
with
to build
algorithm
an
angles
argument,
and whatnot.
and you won't even
And
let
yet
them
you
do
say,
that.
oh, it's just
Probably
irrelevant
because you're
completely.
fake.
It's like they're obviously trying to build
In any
an
case,
argument.
the other guy
and
got
you won't
kicked
even let
because
them
he
do
just
that.
kept
Probably
interrupting
because
when I
you're
tried to
afraid.
answer him, and it's absolutely
In any
ridiculous.
case, the other guy
He
got
just couldn't
kicked because he
acknowledge
just kept
that
interrupting
things merge
when I
into the
tried to answer
horizon,
him, and it's
right?
absolutely
And that the
ridiculous
horizon's
that
below eye level.
he just
so
couldn't
of course now these
acknowledge
things are gonna
that
dip.
things merge into the
The
horizon.
problem is
right?
that when
And
you
that the
see,
horizon's
when you
below eye
claim to
level,
have
so of
things
course that means
disappeared a
things are
little
gonna
bit by
dip.
the horizon,
The
right?
problem
Like,
is
oh, we
that
got
when
like
you
4
see,
inches,
when you claim to have
4
things
feet cut
disappeared
off
a
of
little
this
bit
thing,
by
it
the
has to be Earth
horizon,
curve.
right? Like, oh, we got
There's
like
still
4 inches,
horizon,
4 feet
past
cut
that,
off of this thing. It has to be
up.
Earth curve.
So obviously that line
There's
cannot
still
be the
horizon, like past that.
Get it?
Up, up.
Anyway.
So obviously that line cannot be the horizon. You just don't get it. Anyway, horrible echo there. Whoopsie daisy. Sorry about that, guys. Anyway, appreciate you guys smashing the like. We almost got to 10K. You guys are awesome. We're going to be doing this a little bit more in the next coming days, so stay tuned. Follow, join the YouTube, the Rockfin. Like, subscribe, send some donations if you'd like to support the show in that way. Get some sick merch from the Tribune Etsy shop. Right, you can find all that stuff by going over to the YouTube. It is quite a place to be. We look forward to seeing you. We'll be doing an open panel next time, so you don't have to have a whole bunch of followers to jump on in. And usually it's a little bit more controlled environment, right? So a lot less interrupting in my experience. But yeah, with that, I will bid you guys adieu. I'll see you next time.
All right, guys. Sorry about doubling up there on the sound there for a minute, but we got through it. This will not... Nice. We hear you double. Yeah, what are you going to do? I absolutely botched that. All right. Let me go ahead and get this back over. Shout out the support, and we're gonna go ahead and head on out of here. It's super late. I appreciate you guys kicking it. It's been an awesome show. All right. Oh, I actually got to extend it just a little bit more. Guys, JP, Flat Earth, Gary, J-Dogs, go ahead and turn on your gifts, right? We got some gifts from Justin Johnson, the legendary gift giver. Thank you, my friend, for supporting the show. Sorry, I couldn't see the chat to see that I was overlapping, so that was my bad. Okay. San Pedro, turn your gifts on. Tiffany, Vinci, turn your gifts on. Bill Wheel, what is up? JP Down Under, my friend. Phil Inda Blanc, nice. Have them explain the Black Swan with the horizon further out over 20 miles. As a little late, right? Yeah, that would have been a good one. Professor Finesser, nice. Jeremy Bird, what's up, my friend? Okay. David J, Rick, Mello, Admiral Dickie Bird, and many, many more. Take a second to smash that thumbs up. Absolutely, guys. We appreciate it. He also had a super chat. Let me check that. Is there a way that I can check that? I don't think so. No, it's not letting me. I'm just going to have to keep scrolling, and it's limited. So what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Okay, Rockfin, obviously got to go ahead and shout out you legends. Thank you for supporting not just myself, but all the other content creators. We got quite a bit going on. Nominal, what is up? No longer on the ball. Fishhead, Montana. No curve from 81 miles. Nice. Testable. Provable. Repeatable. What else do we got here? We have Stegabro with the $5 tip. Thank you, my friend. Heliocentrism is an absolute joke. Great work, Troubling. Keep the great work, brother. We will definitely be doing so, and your guys' support makes it possible. As you guys probably know, we have actually recently announced our battle with the Beast. It is not an easy thing. We can't talk too much about it because it is an ongoing thing, but just know that we are working hard to stay out here for you guys. We appreciate you. Justin Johnson with the $5 tip, $5 holler. What is up? And RG, I believe that is Setneg, if I remember correctly, tipped 5. A coffee from Mr. T. Thank you. I obviously need it. I'm falling asleep at the wheel over here. Okay, Raised by Gypsies. What is up? Jazzbo, 3B, Big Buddy Bob. Nice, that's an interesting name. Cracker Bear. Jazzbo with a $2 tip. My chips are down. I do appreciate you. Awesome. Oh, yeah, that was the first one. Yeah, we definitely appreciate that. You know, when I see things like that, I definitely feel a lot from that because I know that people are not in the position, and yet you still find it in you to be able to support the things that you love, and we do really appreciate that. We do really appreciate that. So much love, everybody. What a fantastic show. We're gonna go ahead and get the heck on out of here. Much love, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully I can catch this. Awesome. Until next time, peace.